forever, killer. I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
Now talk about the shit that nobody's gonna talk about. The street founding fathers, Grandmaster Flash, who were in Afrika Bambaataa of the Universal Zulu Nation. Now, Afrika Bambaataa has shit like Soul Sonic Force. You know, there would not be no Luke from Miami or no bass music or booty music if it wasn't for everybody sampling Soul Sonic Force, Afrika Bambaataa. Okay? He's beyond a pioneer. Since I met the man, he was always stand up, always a nice guy. I'm not copping out. He was always about inclusion. He was always about, if you Asian and you love hip hop, if you white and you love hip hop, if you black, if you Latino, it's inclusion. They would have these Zulu Nation anniversaries. This is where my brother would go, bring the cassette back, and how I learned about hip hop. Now, because we don't like these people, or we have different things about them, we cannot exclude the history of hip hop music. We cannot change it to our likings. If there's a new, because I asked my daughter the other day, what's the gender? She said, Dad, there's like 20, 30 genders now. Okay, so as you see, as time is going on and the world is progressing and the world is having different views of things, people who have a voice are starting to distort the facts. Now, I've been hearing for the last couple of years, like just before maybe like COVID, that there's rumors that Afrika Bambaataa was, you know, it hurts my heart to even say this. That's why I've never talked about it. But some people are accusing him of being a child pedophile or somebody who used to play with the kids. I wasn't there. I never seen nothing like that. Now, I'm not discrediting anybody who's a victim or anybody who said this really happened, it happened to them. I'm not trying to make you think I know and I was in his bed or I was in his room or I was around him to see stuff like that. Me, as a hip hop fan, I only saw him at hip hop functions and he was a graceful man. And so I heard little rumors like this. It was news to me because I never seen nothing, never heard nothing. And so I just said, let me mind my business and stay out of it, because if I don't know it, if I can't stay there, if I can't stand there, if I can't see it, I can't really tell you what it is. Now, for the respect of what he did in Zulu Nation and all that, and I won't say, if it is proven that he's a child pedophile, that he's a piece of shit, he should die. It's a fact. I've always told you that, not about him, about anybody who does that, right? I haven't seen him get locked up. I haven't seen him, and it's not too hard to take a black man to jail for some shit people are saying. It just ain't, right? So he hasn't got locked up. I haven't seen that, but I heard the rumors of people saying that. So now we got a big problem. We got a hip hop museum that's run by Rocky, and the security, everybody's down. Look, everybody was down with each other. Even Fat Joe was Zulu Nation back in the days. everybody was down with each other. So a lot of the people that are trying to preserve the culture at the museum are either really, really tight with Bambaataa or were very tight with him. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about Ahmed. I'm talking about LG. I'm talking about Mickey Benson. I'm talking about everybody. Fat Joe was down with Zulu Nation. Okay, everybody. This ain't no okay. This ain't, you know, I'm just saying everybody knew each other, right? And was down with each other, right? So now there's people saying, yo, let's stop the hip hop museum because these guys are cool with Bambaataa. These guys are this and this and this and this and that. Now we got the idea of, all right, do you stop the preserving of hip hop culture, the hip hop museum that people invested their whole lives into and gave up millions of dollars and went all out to get it done, to make the Bronx a destination across the country, to this, that, because this man might have did some ugly shit that we haven't proven yet. But because people that are involved with the museum know him or are cool with him or haven't denounced him, they're starting to start the, you know, I'm going to City Hall, I got a complaint, I got a this. What will happen is, what always happens, say they shut the whole shit down, because these people saying, yo, I don't want Bambaataa picture in there, I don't want him this, he did this and this and that. You stop the museum. And this is why whenever people that look like us, speak like us, come from where we come from, try to do something, we shut it down. And so this is very, very, very situation because they're making a lot of noise out there. And I don't know what noise is because, you know, I told one of my friends the other day, my friend was asking me, you know, relationship advice, and was like, you know, I'm sensitive, you know, my boyfriend, you know, sometimes he says jokes, but not to hurt me, but I'm just so sensitive, it bothers me. I'm not one of those people that laugh at the joke, especially when it's about me. And I told her, you must have not went on Twitter with me. Because if I go on Twitter right now, I'm a fat fuck, I'm a devil
profit muscle.
They're trying to destroy Afrika Bambaataa. Okay, they're trying to kill him. A lot of people felt that I was insensitive, that my remarks, like I said, you know, I could care less. I don't care, you know, and I really don't. Like,
what is it you don't care? You don't care about the victim's statement, or you don't care about the narrative that's followed?
Let me go deep into it then. They're trying to destroy Afrika Bambaataa. Okay, they're trying to kill him. There is a professional statement that I can make that's sincere. And that's the statement that I actually made. Afrika Bambaataa has to deal with Afrika Bambaataa. The accusations made against him are made against him. They're not made against hip hop. On top of that, nothing that Afrika Bambaataa did within and for hip hop is to be taken away from him because of these accusations. Now, many people felt that was insensitive. They said, you know, what I should, you know, I guess join the bandwagon of people that was incriminating Afrika Bambaataa. My issue is that, first of all, we're talking about accusations. That's what we're talking about.
Only God knows the truth.
What's up, everyone? Only God knows the truth, huh? I'd say there's some other people out here that feel a little bit different. And, you know, listen, on this anniversary, as I see many of you talking about this anniversary of him being stabbed. What's up with it? Hood Hampton. Shout out to Hood Hampton in the Doom mask. It's crazy because I had no intention of ever even talking about this man. And crazily enough, my name is definitely being thrown around. It's kind of fucking insane, all right? Trying to make me some part of some collective and trying to attach me to all these people that I don't know. But here's what I do know. Here's what I know. Here's what I know. Everybody can't be lying on this man. Period. That's how I feel about it. I just wonder how he has escaped prosecution and all of those other things. I mean, they got R. Kelly, right? They got R. Kelly after all those years. Sounds like to me this guy's really sick, all right? Really twisted. And I've heard the allegations for years against this man. Yes, I'm fully aware of the Hassan Campbell and Ron Savage. And oh my God, where's that boy? Where's that Spanish boy? Let me tell you something. I don't care. I don't care where he's at. I really don't, at the end of the day, if you want me to be honest with you. What I would say is that boy, whoever that boy is, that Spanish boy that stabbed Afrika Bambaataa with that pair of scissors, you could be celebrating an anniversary for a whole different reason. You do know that, right? But here we are. Here we are at this junction. And yes, Afrika Bambaataa's name's been ringing all over. It has. And even more so, the crescendo just peaked at this point. Especially when little old LeakYou starts talking about Afrika Bambaataa. Never been convicted. That does not mean he's not sick. There's been quite a lot of publications that has talked about the whole Afrika Bambaataa situation. And, this man has allegedly molested young men for decades. Why am I saying allegedly? I don't know. I guess it's all legal shit, right? This guy's been molesting kids for years. And some of the stories that I've heard told by some of his victims, it's heartbreaking. So I'm just kind of wondering what all this energy, right? There's all this energy at attacking all these people around the Afrika Bambaataa case. But I don't see anybody actually attacking Afrika Bambaataa for sexually abusing those men. Does anyone even know where he's at? Like, he sure likes to keep a low profile, doesn't he? I mean, where is Afrika Bambaataa? Can anyone tell me, where is Afrika Bambaataa? And why is he relatively always, his whereabouts, relatively unknown? There's been so many men that have came and accused him of that sexual abuse. Are they all lying? I don't think so. It doesn't matter what type of pioneer he has been in hip hop. Pedophile is a pedophile. It doesn't stop his contributions. Does it stop R. Kelly's contributions? No. Many of y'all still got pregnant listening to his music. Many of y'all still listen to R. Kelly's music. And it doesn't stop the fact that R. Kelly is a very musically talented man. R. Kelly's got problems. He's sick. And you've got people out here that have made the fight that should be against this man about all kinds of other shit. And that's why I'm just like, I don't understand. It almost makes some of you look like you're defending him. This is a quote. Bam was like your uncle who paid your way through college but molested you. End quote. It sounds like to me he would target young boys, all right, based off certain characteristics. And he would molest those boys. Orgies, the whole fucking nine. It's fucking sick. He would try to get trust with these young boys. Start by showing them books of pictures of naked men engaged in sex acts, or to watch pornography, which later escalated to touching and then oral sex. Okay? Constant abuse. Wasn't a one-time thing. And of course, these victims kept this abuse secret. Could you imagine coming out and telling the whole world that Afrika Bambaataa molested you? Could you imagine that? And the blowback that comes with that, regardless, right? And he's got like his staunch fans and his staunch critics, those who believe in him and those that believe he's guilty as hell. I don't think everyone's lying on this man. I'm going to read from a Vice article here for you guys. Take it for what you will. It's almost hard to read this. And yes, I'm going to be talking about you first, Ron Savage. Savage joined the Baby Zulus, an apprentice group for future Zulus, earned the Zulu nickname Bee Stinger, which he keeps today, and became a crate boy, an unpaid position that entailed carrying records and gear for Zulu DJs. It was a goal for many poor, disenfranchised kids in the neighborhood. Crate boys are pretty common in hip-hop. Apprentice DJs trying to learn the craft or looking for a career in the music industry. Ron Savage loved being part of the Zulus, hanging out at the center parties and having a front row seat to the birth of hip-hop. But in 1980, just 2 years before Bambaataa's career really took off with Planet Rock, everything changed. One day that year when Ron Savage was only 15, he said that Bambaataa sent a cab to Adlai E. Stevenson High School on Lafayette Avenue to pick him up. Savage, a freshman, ditched class, got in the cab, and was driven to Bambaataa's house in the Baychester section of the Bronx. Inside the house, Savage was met by Bambaataa and another man, who Savage would not identify. There was a guy there, and Bam said that I could watch TV in the room. When I went in the room, there was a photo book on the bed. It had pictures of other people's penises, other guys. Bambaataa, he said, came into the room, saw him looking at the book, and asked him if he knew how to jerk off. According to Savage, Bambaataa told the teenager to pull out his penis and proceeded to manually stimulate him. Bambaataa also took out his penis and had Savage do the same to him. After they were finished, the second man came into the bedroom with his penis out. Savage said he was scared, ran out of the house crying. As he ran through the Bronx streets sobbing, a woman noticed he was upset and picked him up, saying that she told him to get in the car. She drove him back to school. And Ron Savage didn't tell anyone about the incident at the time. Just a day or two later, a similar scenario unfolded when Bambaataa stopped by Savage's house. He said the two engaged in oral sex in his car and later at a house. Bambaataa would abuse him at least 4 or 5 more times. The molestation stopped, Savage says, when he began to pretend he wasn't around when Bambaataa would show up at his house. In the years that followed, he withdrew from friends and family, cut ties with Bambaataa, and sank into a very deep depression. And as he got older, his depression worsened. He cut himself with scissors, attempted suicide multiple times, once by even overdosing on pills. He was later employed as a security guard and turned to political activism with a focus on education. And in 2006, he became an elected member of the New York State Democratic Committee. Savage said that though he would remain a member of the Zulu Nation after the last alleged molestation, he never spoke with Bambaataa again. He explained that the alleged abuse severely impacted his relationships with women and is behind intimacy issues he still has to this day. Like Savage, Hassan Poppy Campbell grew up in a dysfunctional home and was surrounded by poverty, drug, and alcohol addiction. He described life in the hardscrabble Bronx River houses by saying, quote, "One day you're at a party, the next day you're getting shot at, or you're on welfare," end quote. Campbell, who is a decade younger than Savage, was also drawn to Bambaataa, and in the late 80s, he was just 12 or 13. Hassan Campbell began hanging out with the Zulus and, like Savage, immersed himself in the burgeoning b-boy culture. Campbell lived in the Bronx River houses with his mother and 5 siblings. His mom, he said, was abusive and suffered from mental illness. And like Savage, Campbell said the parties at the center provided a very healthy distraction from the chaos at home. He often fought with his mother and would run away, sometimes staying at Bambaataa's house when he had nowhere else to go, and he too called Bambaataa a father figure. He took care of me. He made sure I had everything I needed, and he made sure my mom had everything she needed. Bam was like the godfather. A lot of parents in our community were on drugs, and Bam took advantage of that. That trust took an insidious turn, he said, when he was just 13. Campbell said another man had previously molested him, which made it easier for Bam to molest him. And he described a story very similar to Ron Savage's. Began with Bambaataa showing him a book of pictures of naked men engaged in sex acts. The pornography viewing escalated to touching and later oral sex. The alleged abuse, he said, was constant and went on for years. This wasn't a one-time thing. Campbell kept the alleged abuse secret. He said it eventually stopped when he broke away from Bambaataa in his late teens and turned his anger towards the gangs and criminals on the Bronx streets. He felt like he started acting like a wild animal, and he recalled the way that the anger festered and the devastating effects that it had on his life. Campbell told Vice that he became a criminal as a teenager, started carrying guns, and in 1993 was charged with second-degree murder for the killing of a Bronx man. Hassan went on the run but was caught and arrested in Connecticut in 1994. His co-defendant was found not guilty, and Campbell pleaded out to assault, landing him a 3-year sentence. Bambaataa, he said, took care of him. while he was in jail and when he was released. Quote, "When I came home from jail, Bam took me shopping and stuff like that. Bam was like your uncle who paid your way through college but molested you." End quote. And according to Campbell, he was locked up again for parole violations and attempted murder, and in 2000 was charged with shooting 3 people in the Bronx in a case that he's claimed was dismissed. He said he was charged in a Bronx River murder in 2004 and spent a month in jail before that case was also dismissed. Another quote, he said, "You don't have to be gay to have that done to you. He did it, and I ended up telling him to stop. I didn't tell anyone until I was 30. This is another victim of Bambaataa. Troy. Another alleged victim who stepped forward after Savage was a 51-year-old former Bronx resident who asked that his first name, Troy, be used for this article. This is the Vice News article, noisy article. Now, Troy, who also spoke out to the Daily News, told a tale that is very similar to that of Ron Savage and Hassan Campbell. His parents divorced when he was young. He grew up with his mother and other relatives in the Bronx River houses. He joined the Zulus for camaraderie and protection in the late 70s and got to know Bambaataa from hanging out at block parties. He looked up to and trusted Bambaataa, so much so that he was 13. He decided to seek dating advice from this star DJ. And in 1978, Troy was on his way to see his new girlfriend when he decided to stop by Bambaataa's house to get tips on what to do when it came time to be alone with her. Quote, "I figured I'd go see Bam because he was like an older brother. He said, about getting head and all that. At that age, you don't think about stuff like that. Well, at least I didn't." The hip-hop icon, Bambaataa, Troy says, showed him a book with pictures of naked boys and then performed oral sex on him. Troy recalled that Bambaataa showed him a book of penises, saying that you don't have to be gay to have that done to you. He did it, and I ended up telling him to stop. I didn't tell anyone until I was 30. Now a married father of 3 adult children, Troy moved out of the neighborhood to live with his dad shortly after the alleged incident and immersed himself in martial arts. He moved out of New York altogether in 1989 and joined the U.S. Army, saying that a lot of guys went down a negative path. It didn't do that to me. I was really angry, but I got into martial arts, and that's how I dealt with it. All 3 alleged victims and several other people that were interviewed for this Vice story said that for years there were rumors both in local Black communities in the Bronx and in the broader hip-hop community about Bambaataa being sexually involved with teenage boys. But he managed to escape widespread scrutiny, even after the first allegations started to publicly surface. Author and blogger Khalil Amani, a Colorado-based writer for DJ K. Slay's Straight Stuntin' magazine, was the first to publicly allege sexual misconduct by Bambaataa. Amani, the author of a book about homophobia and homosexuality in the rap industry, wrote an article in April 2013 claiming that Bambaataa was stabbed by a man he had allegedly sexually assaulted. This story, which was picked up by The Drop and other hip-hop sites, claimed that Bambaataa had drugged a man and then performed oral sex on him without his consent. And according to Amani's report, the man woke up, realized what was happening, and stabbed Bambaataa, a top Zulu member, reportedly with Bambaataa at the time, was also allegedly cut with the same knife. The article angered members of the Zulu Nation, who Amani said asked K-Slay to have it taken down. Amani removed the article a day or two after it was first posted, but he then decided to put it back up about a week later, prompting threats, which he still backs and supports that article to this day. Amani said that he got a few threats. Quote, "One guy was Zulu from here in Colorado," he said. "You know you can be touched, right? You're right down the street. You can be touched." End quote. The Zulu Nation is very intimidating. Hassan Campbell and Ron Savage both said they too have intimate knowledge of the reported stabbing incident, corroborating Amani's account. Campbell told Vice News that he visited Bambaataa at Jacoby Medical Center in the Bronx, and that Bambaataa, who was recovering from a knife wound to the stomach, told Campbell about the incident. He then gave Campbell a picture of the alleged assailant and asked him to seek revenge. Quote, "I was at the hospital after he got stabbed. I was one of the first soldiers that he called to deal with the situation. He lied and told everybody he never got stabbed when he had 100 people waiting for him outside of the hospital." In interviews with allhiphop.com, Zulu officials denied the stabbing and said Bambaataa was being treated for chest pains. Campbell said the story as Bambaataa told it to him was as follows. The alleged assailant took a cab to Bambaataa's house in New Rochelle the day of the incident. Bambaataa claimed that the man was acting weird and walking around the house. The Zulu leader with Bambaataa at the time was eating a sandwich when he heard Bambaataa screaming in the next room. He ran in to see what was going on and saw the man with the knife and Bambaataa bleeding from a stomach wound. The man with the knife then slashed the Zulu leader in the stomach and ran out of the house. Campbell added that he later saw a bandage on Bambaataa's stomach and that he spoke about the incident with the other Zulu leader who had been there. He said he also spoke with the alleged assailant's brother, who told him that the brother had stabbed Bambaataa because he had been date raped. On the day of the reported stabbing, Savage said he too was told about the incident, this time during a phone call with the Zulu leader who was with Bambaataa when it happened. He just said that Bam got stabbed. He also said that he got sliced. And while this incident further fueled rumors in the Bronx and in the hip-hop community of Bambaataa's questionable behavior, the mainstream media has never reported on it. No criminal charges ever came about, and the story just went away. But the rumors about Bambaataa's alleged sexual abuse picked up again in 2014 with the publication of Ron Savage's book, Impulse, Urges, and Fantasies. This was a memoir of Ron Savage's life as a music executive and activist in which he reported being molested by a hip-hop DJ that he and everyone else looked up to. He didn't, however, name Bambaataa as the perpetrator. About a year later, Campbell posted a video on his personal Facebook page accusing Bambaataa of molesting him. Campbell said that it created a shitstorm in the community, but that he quickly removed it after getting an angry phone call from a top Zulu security official. According to Campbell, days after he posted the original video, he met with Bambaataa and several top Zulu council members. Campbell said Bambaataa apologized to him and promised to make amends by stepping down from the Zulu Nation and buying a tombstone for a Zulu member who had been a friend of Campbell's. Bambaataa fulfilled neither of those promises. Campbell recalled that he was crying He apologized. He tried to say that he wasn't doing that to no more kids, but I knew he was lying. After the meeting, Campbell agreed to keep the video off his Facebook page, stay quiet about the accusations. He said he was embarrassed and just wanted the situation to go away. He also acknowledged he wanted to protect the Zulu nation, as well as his own job as a Zulu warrior's security guard. It was putting food on the table for a lot of guys, Campbell said of the Zulu entertainment business. Everybody piggybacks off of Bam. They live off of him. They get income off of him, and they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. But while Campbell's video caused a stir in the community, Bambaataa had dodged yet another bullet. But when Savage appeared on DJ Star's YouTube channel, The Star Chamber, on March 29, 2016, the story finally reached a mass audience. The next day, 2 top Zulu lieutenants pressured Ron Savage to recant, issuing veiled threats and intimidating conversations that were captured on audio tape by Savage. One of those Zulu leaders, an associate of Ice-T named Mickey Benson, acknowledged when Vice News called him in July that he had pressured Savage because he didn't want the Zulu Nation brand damaged. Benson also said, among other things, quote, "Suck my dick, fag," end quote. A publicist for Ice-T described Benson only as the rapper's friend and said that Ice doesn't have any comment on this matter. Savage said he also received a call from a third Zulu official within a day or so of going public, in which he was allegedly offered $50,000 to retract his statements. Something else happened in the days after Savage's story went public. Campbell said his 2015 Facebook video mysteriously resurfaced on the web, followed by alleged death threats from Zulus. He said he got a phone call saying, "Be careful because Brothers is talking about moving on you," about the Ron Savage situation in that video. Somebody called me and told me to watch my back. They were supposed to be moving on me, killing me or whatever. Campbell said he called Bambaataa after receiving the threat, told him he felt unsafe and wanted him to provide security, but Bambaataa, still in charge of the Zulu Nation, brushed off the threats. So Campbell went public, first to DJ Star and then to the Daily News. He said he had no choice. Quote, "I don't know why my video came back up, but it did. And when it came back up, there was a lot of tension here and a lot of threats being passed around. Somebody told me that certain people were talking about killing me because they feel like I was behind Ron Savage doing what he did." Campbell said he feared for his life after the story of his alleged abuse broke and insists he has since been in touch with other victims who are scared to death to come out, including the family of a British man who claimed to have been molested by Bambaataa in the UK, but has since committed suicide. Among those close to the scandal, there are stories swirling around about other alleged victims in the United States and Britain who committed suicide or died of drug overdoses. Possibly up to a dozen victims. And there's even one that Campbell may be in touch with that's currently in Brazil. Another man claiming to be Bambaataa's bodyguard also came forward and told DJ Star that Bambaataa traveled with hundreds of teenage boys over the years, including many who shared hotel rooms with the Zulu founder, Ali Bey, An original Black Spade member, an active Zulu, also known as Lord Sharif, said he told Zulu council members in 2007 about alleged child sex abuse by Bambaataa, but nothing was done. He's a pedophile, Ali Bey told DJ Star. There are many instances that I saw young boys in and out of his room. I can say I've walked in on stuff where I say, what the fuck is going on? Now, after going public, both Campbell and Savage came under attack by the Zulu Nation, which then issued a public statement in April of, I believe it was 2015 or 2016, accusing Savage of being mentally challenged, calling Campbell a liar, and bizarrely, a government-paid police informant. The same statement also claimed the accusations were a government-sponsored media attack and part of a racist anti-hip-hop campaign by New York authorities. Bambaataa, who in a story in XXL magazine initially claimed to not even know his accusers, issued his own statement in April denying the abuse and calling the allegations cowardly and baseless. Since the statement and a few subsequent media interviews, people hardly hear from Afrika Bambaataa. The question most often asked when these types of allegations finally surface is why the accusers didn't come forward earlier. Now, according to Wendy Murphy, a veteran sex crimes prosecutor, national victims' rights advocate, and professor at New England Law in Boston, it often just comes down to fear. Sex abuse victims are frequently scared for a variety of different reasons, including being ostracized from a particular group or being re-victimized, whether it's by the judicial system, the everyday people. And victims also often worry that the abuser will retaliate, and they don't think the legal system will treat them fairly. It often takes time for victims to reach the point where they feel empowered to tell what happened. For child victims, delayed reporting is even more common because they are very easy to silence, especially when the offender is a trusted adult. For those close to the Bambaataa scandal, the situation was compounded by stark economic realities and a fear of intimidation and violence. Quote, "These are people from lower income areas who didn't have shit. And all of a sudden, they were eating off of this new thing called hip hop. And it was a way to get out that pressure cooker," end quote, according to DJ Star, who broke the Bambaataa story and has covered hip hop for decades. Another quote, "The reality is the Zulu Nation came out of a gang. If you have the mindset not to tell, not to speak up, not to talk to police, and you have a gang that can terrorize the entire state of New York, you're dealing with a very powerful entity that can make your life a living hell." With its combination of extremely vulnerable victims and a powerful regime looming over them, the Bambaataa case bears a number of parallels to the Catholic Church scandal, in which pedophile priests usually targeted young boys, often from low-income broken homes. The church ignored the epidemic for decades, if not centuries, shuttling accused priests to and from parishes and paying off victims to avoid detection. Since the scandal broke in the early 2000s, prompted by dogged reporting by the Boston Globe, dramatized in the Academy Award-winning film Spotlight, which has become really a case study in systematic corruption and its role in enabling pedophilia. Bam took the kids who were struggling, the kids who didn't have good parents and had nothing, said one longtime DJ associate of Bambaataa's who requested to be anonymous. It's all about the money. These guys in Zulu Nation are on the payroll doing security, carrying equipment. A lot of them have felony records. They can't get other jobs. They did that paycheck, so they will keep quiet. And just as the church shielded pedophile priests for decades, those involved with or close to the Bambaataa scandal allege that top leaders of the Zulu Nation did exactly the same thing by protecting the music icon and the organization at all costs. In the African American community, and as a matter of fact, in every community, child molestation is like a state secret. Nobody wants to touch it. We're taught to be quiet about it, so that's pretty much what the situation is. Authorities have said nothing about the Bambaataa scandal publicly. A New York Police Department source told Vice News there's not even an active investigation because there have been no allegations that would fall within the statute of limitations. And in New York, the statute of limitations on child sex abuse expires when the victim turns 23. Meanwhile, this whole Bambaataa scandal has sharply divided the hip-hop community. KRS-One, longtime friend and ally of Bambaataa, has been excoriated on social media, and based on his comments, I would say rightfully so. Sometimes you just got to know when to shut the fuck up. But he was excoriated on social media and in hip-hop forums for publicly supporting Bambaataa, including by Ron Savage, who in an interview with allhiphop.com called the iconic MC worse than any Catholic priest and pushed for a boycott of his music. KRS-One, much like some members of the Zulu Nation, has blasted the accusers for trying to tear down Afrika Bambaataa and tarnishing his legacy. KRS-One has gone so far as to say in an appearance in Birmingham, England, that, quote, anyone who has a problem with Afrika Bambaataa should quit hip-hop, end quote. DJ Kool Herc, another lifelong associate of Bambaataa, also would not criticize him, saying, telling Vice News, I'm very much aware of the matter. I'm not fair weather, though. He's a friend of mine. His organization has an internal dispute. That's it. Other rappers have weighed in against Bambaataa. Lord Jamar, an activist, actor, and rapper, member of the political and socially conscious hip-hop group Brand Nubian, criticized Bambaataa in an interview with Vlad TV for lying about not even knowing Ron Savage, and said that rumors about Bambaataa have persisted for 20 years. You remember the rumors about R. Kelly? I do. It was so bad that even a tape of R. Kelly having sex with a minor was being sold on street corners for years. He still walked around free for 6 years. He did everything he can to push that trial off. And then when he finally went to trial, he was found not guilty. But then karma came and knocked. So I guess what it really comes down to is police claim that they don't have a victim that lies within the statute of limitations. But if there is a victim who is currently under the age of 23 years, you still have time to go to authorities if you have been molested by this man. I just figured on this anniversary, I would just try to come back, since, it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to come back and kind of, hey, this is what this is really all about, y'all. Why do you care about who this boy is? Don't you want to see justice for all the victims this man has left around the globe? Do you ever consider the fact that just maybe the boy that was date raped by Bambaataa doesn't want to come public? Have you ever considered that fact? Maybe not a fact, but possible fact. Have you ever considered that? That maybe he doesn't want to be the face of you bloggers, some of you vloggers' plights. The way shit gets twisted out here and fucked up. Has anyone ever thought about that? Frankly, I could care less about what happened to that boy at the end of the day. I want to know why this man hasn't been charged with anything yet. Sounds like he's left a wake of destruction in his path. And I've heard a lot more disgusting things. Multiple men standing around jacking each other off, like all sorts of really horrible, horrible things. And so, don't ever dismiss a sexual abuse victim's claims. Don't do that. So, it's crazy because I'm seeing people like y'all are attacking victims and fighting, people that broke the stories and all these other people. I get it. And it makes me really grateful for the discernment that I have. And this man is beyond disgusting, in my opinion. This is the opinion piece where we're at the end, and I'm about to end this. Everybody's not lying on this man. Come on, y'all. And even when people come out here and give you raw details, it's not good enough. But a lot of these people who have spoken out, look how their lives have been threatened. And then you wonder why people don't come out. Not to mention, look how you vloggers attack the victims. I've watched y'all do it. Not all of you, but some of you. The fact that Afrika Bambaataa would have so much public support. The fact that he somehow catches and kills this story. Don't know how he's managed to do it with his little secretive ways. And I just have a feeling that something's about to change. Sometimes when things reach like a crescendo, there's nothing in this world that can be said or done, right? Because there's too many people. It's like, blood being spilt. The blood cries out to the Lord after so long. Honestly, Move around. I don't need you around here. Move around. I don't feel like that plight that false prophet is over there preaching is solid at all. He's too busy caught up with all the minutia of shit, and I think he's forgotten. I think he forgot. Should be the focus. I'm not even trying to be rude, but this is a serious life for me. I will be, on Interloper Nation. You come by there, Izzy 2.0, and we can play around there. But this is a serious live for me. Don't take it personal. All that's just bullshit. Clout chasing bullshit. Anyway, y'all, before we get up out of here, shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
I'm going to say something that probably other people won't say. I'm going to be honest. When I see KRS-One being so defensive like that and willing to publicly defend the dude against those sorts of really insane, very heavy allegations, it makes one wonder about him. I appreciate everyone who came through. Until next time, everyone.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart, like really, really